If you've been paying attention to the sport of athletics, you will know that things are officially starting.
Ends the night with another world record!
In addition to these crazy world records, we are now right on the cusp of a brand new series of races through Michael Johnson's Grand Slam Track League, which will feature 48 of the world's best athletes lacing up against various challengers in a never-before-seen athletics experience. Track and field is officially back, and in this post-Olympic year that is 2025, we are also seeing new types of competitive showdowns, where track athletes are not only being featured as top-tier celebrities, but they're actually starting to race against them. And while various crossovers of these two worlds have happened in the past, we are officially stepping into brand new territory, because over this past weekend at the Super Bowl, two different worlds collided, and it might be one of the more fascinating collabs that sprinting has ever seen.
We got a race. We got a race, Sha'Carri.
But you gotta do what I do first before we race.
That's not a race.
I gotta teach you how to be a sprinter first.
Why you ducking though? Why can't we just race?
Back in November of 2024, the streamer IShowSpeed took to the track in Claremont, Florida to race against the world's fastest man, Noah Lyles. Now, this was a highly anticipated matchup that grew in excitement as Speed made the 3-hour trip from Miami to Claremont. But it was also no surprise that Noah Lyles did in fact come out on top of this race, as he was not only the 2024 Olympic champion, but he has one of the fastest times in history in the 60 and in the 100 meters. This victory was certainly expected from Noah over Speed in pretty much any racing distance. However, to the surprise of many watching, Speed ran quite quickly here, and he really did put forth a solid effort, especially given the competition. This 50-meter dash exhibition race was a super unique moment in sprinting, as no other competition like this had ever happened before this day. However, at this year's Super Bowl, we saw an even more unique collaboration begin, because as IShowSpeed was just finishing up his celebrity football game, he ran into none other than the 2023 world champion, Sha'Carri Richardson. Now, in this back and forth, there was a lot to unpack. Speed immediately wanted to race Sha'Carri on site when they ran into each other. Sha'Carri was a lot more careful about her approach, even inviting Speed to her training camp in Florida. And we also have to address the fact that none other than Christian Coleman was carefully mediating this back and forth, as he not only knows a thing or two about sprinting, but he's actually the 60-meter world record holder at 6.34 seconds. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure that Speed knew this, because if he did, he would probably praise Coleman as one of the greatest to ever do it. Now, immediately, the idea of these two racing each other hit me as a very intriguing competition. Sha'Carri was the 2023 world champion, she was the silver medalist from the Paris Olympics in the 100, and she's also the 5th fastest woman of all time over this racing distance. Sha'Carri is fast, like historically fast, and when it comes to top speeds achieved, she reaches one of the quickest speeds of all time, as she has been clocked just over 24 miles per hour. And this happened not only back in 2021, but in the 2023 World Finals. Clearly, Sha'Carri shines the brightest when it comes to the 100-meter distance, and while she might have the edge over Speed in the 100, Speed is looking to race over the 60. Now, given Speed's impressive starting abilities, I think he might have an edge over Sha'Carri in this racing distance. I mean, he even kept up with Noah for a few strides when they raced over the 50 meters back in November. But this might not actually be true, because one very impactful statistic might prove that Sha'Carri has an even better chance than many think. And in order to see this, we need to go back to the World Finals. For these World Championships in Budapest, Sha'Carri achieved her fastest 100 time ever at 10.65 seconds. This race was honestly amazing. She ran all the way out in lane 9, she barely made it into the finals, but then she threw down one of the greatest races of her career so far. This 10.65 has only ever been eclipsed by some of the greatest sprinters to ever grace the track on the women's side. But during this 100, she managed to split through 60 meters in approximately 6.94 seconds, which is significantly faster than her official listed 60-meter PB of 7.2. However, this does go all the way back to 2019, and she just doesn't race indoors anymore, so she's clearly gotten much faster since this 7.2 6 years ago. Now, if we look at what we should expect from Sha'Carri based on her 100 times and her recent splits, we're probably looking at a time right around 7.05 up to 7.10, which is very impressive, but she might even have the ability to go closer to 7.0. It all depends on how she performs on the day. But what exactly would Speed run if he were to race Sha'Carri over the 60? Now, this is where things get kind of complicated, because there are various prediction models for Speed's 60 time online, and one of the more important factors to this estimation comes from a 40-yard dash where he apparently ran a time of 4.44. Now, many have found this race extremely impressive, as he clearly wasn't dressed for a 40-yard PB. In fact, he was even wearing Crocs for this race. But the problem here is that this time is just completely unreliable. Running these kinds of exhibition 40-yard dashes are quite entertaining, but the tools and machines that are used in these kind of environments have no real basis when looking at exact performances. For international track and field races, starters have a gun relayed through an electronic timing machine, and for an athlete's exact time, it takes into account their starting reaction. It often includes splits through each 10-meter interval, and then there's this very often standardized finishing picture, which can capture an athlete's finish, not just down to the 100th, but even down to the 1,000th. To really get a precise finishing result, you need some heavy hardware on site that can connect from the starting gun all the way to the finish 100 meters down the track, and the same thing applies for the 60-meter dash as well. And the problem with this kind of sprint is that the result can vary by close to half of a second on either side of an athlete's true time. Sadly, there is no exact finishing result that is truly precise from Speed's recent racing. But when he did race Noah back in November, many people had the ability to time this 50-meter run, and it was estimated that he ran somewhere around 5.9 seconds, give or take about a tenth. And if this is in fact to be trusted, then he would be expected to run right around 7 to 7.1 seconds for a 60-meter clocking. This would mean that Sha'Carri versus Speed would actually be incredibly close if they were to race on the day. And if we do in fact make this race happen, can we please get official starting blocks registered to electronic timing, and we also need to get down to the 1,000th of a second. These kind of resources are available all over the world. So if we do get these two together, we need to make this happen. These sprinting celebrity crossovers are very, very intriguing, and I believe it's a part of the next step to bringing track and field to a bigger audience. And with all of this in mind, leave your thoughts down below on who you think would win in the 60-meter dash. Do you have Speed, or do you have Sha'Carri Richardson? Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, until next time.